Mel, it's a cannon. It's a cannon. Wow. What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be making a custom fly line. Now, it's probably going to turn out like garbage, so just watch and don't imitate. But what you're going to see is we're going to use this line, and we're going to use this line to evaluate a handful of two-hand, muskie-specific sticks. Now, they're like in a compact two-hand class. They're not switch rods, they're not spey rods. They're most of them 10 foot or even just under 10 foot. And the companies that I've been very, very blessed by and fortunate to work with, we have Chippewa River custom rods, 10 foot, 12 weight, and 10 weight. We got a Foxtail Mayalmere 450 grainer, 10 footer as well. Those things are sick. And last fall, you saw this guy, the Echo 11 weight muskie 9 foot 4 inch. Now, having cast some of these already, I already know that the lines I have don't fit them perfectly. I want something heavier. And so we're gonna go way heavy, and we're gonna leave ourselves the option of cutting it back. And we're gonna build it in a shooting head style. And what I mean by that is not shooting head taper, but we're gonna have really thin running line that's gonna be monofilament. It's gonna be braided monofilament. And then we're gonna have a head section that's really short, full sink, 20 grains per inch, 30 feet long, so it's gonna be 600 grains total. This is the 600 grain custom shooting head full sink monstrosity and how I'm gonna build it. And this video is gonna be a bit haphazard because honestly, we are making it up as we go. So ignore that, but we got some blocks to elevate our line. We're actually gonna clamp our line to these so that I have some working room as we splice everything together. What we're gonna use as our running line is waxed braided mono for shooting, and it's in the 50-pound class because we're going big or we're going home. So the braided mono is hollow, and that's super important because we're actually gonna thread our fly line into this. We're gonna thread this into itself to make a super slim low profile loop so that we can strip it into the guides when we're figure eighting fish. And so it's 100 feet long, which is exactly what I want. We'll put 100 feet on the reel, 30-foot head. We'll have a 130-foot long custom shooting head. That'll be sick. So I'm gonna take this as is, and we're just gonna do a loop to loop here. So I'm gonna take my waxed, this is waxed, feels about 30-pound backing. We're just gonna do a double overhand, whatever the heck that is called, I forget. We're gonna make it big enough that this whole spool will fit inside of it. Good enough for what we're doing. I'm gonna take our braided mono, and I'm going to do the same thing. This does not need to be super fancy at this end. Then we can push our green loop through that guy, throw it around this thing, and we have loop to loop the two together, ready to party. Slick. All right, now we're going to take like 3 feet of this bad boy, maybe 4 feet, and we're gonna cut that off, and we're gonna use that to make our loop to connect our leader to so that it's smooth and goes right through the guides. So keep that. Now we got to splice fly line into this. So we have a 214 gauge needle, and this will have a point that you can thread into the mono, and it's empty in the back. So when we come in with our 600 grain, 20 grain per foot level sinking line at 10 inches per second, which is insane. We're just gonna throw this across my room and let that make a big old knotted mess of garbage. But it'll fit right into that 14 gauge needle because the needle's hollow. Now you're gonna want like, I don't know, 2 feet of this at least to finish the splice. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna insert our needle 2 feet into the tip of this. And so our fly line is going to go in here with a 2-foot tag to tie it off with. So you just kind of inchworm it on, right, every time you push the needle through. Now that's like in there over a foot. So I'm going to take my needle out, apply as much of that to that fly line as I can. Get all the slack out of there. And now what you'll see is that braided mono, because it's empty, if I just grab it and rip and pull, as you stretch it out, it sinks down, and this is all just friction fit onto my shooting sinking line. But I'm going to create a joint right here. Instead of just trusting this, we're going to splice these together. So it should be something like this. I want it to be tight. I'll put it on this block. I'll take a clamp. They make splicing jigs for this, but I am not that cool. We're just gonna jerry rig the crap out of it. So I'm gonna squish that so I can pull on it. We'll make another one over here. So I got it elevated off the table, I got it pinched down, and I got it taut, like super taut. I'm gonna take all the slack out, and then all we're gonna do is an overhand knot. And you're just gonna do a series of overhand knots in the same direction over and over again, like you're making a necklace at summer camp. You're gonna do it 20 times, let's say. Now the way you finish this is the same way you finish a bowstring. You make your big old loop, come up under here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, good enough. I know this is like the sloppiest thing ever. Get it nice and tight, and then you're gonna take those 5 wraps with that loop, 2, 3, 4, and you'll see it's unwinding itself essentially. And then you can suck all the slack out. And this way, the knot goes backwards so that it goes right through the guides. You want the knot going backwards. So just look up how to serve a bowstring and you'll get that good to go. Sweet, and then I'm gonna hit that knot with a little bit of CA glue just to make sure that's tight as a button. Be on that knot really. That is our line to line going from 50-pound braided mono that's hollow. We threaded in our sink tip, which I probably should have cut that at a slight angle, but it doesn't matter. Got it all the way through for about 1.5 feet. Now that's tension tight, but then we took the tag end, overhand knots to connect, and then a finishing swerve knot. Take it back over, and bada bing, bada boom. Now we're going to do the exact same thing to create a loop at the other end that'll also go straight through the guides and that you can connect your leader to. Because that's sick. But that means that we're going to be stuck at 600 grains, and that's okay because I want something crazy heavy. Like typically what you would do is you would do this with a cut back line, right? And so you'd go out and cast with 600 grains. It's 20 grains per foot. So then you'd be like, nah, I'm gonna cut it back a foot. I'm gonna cut it back 2 feet. 2 feet is 40 grains. That's almost like a full line class. That's like going from an 11 weight to a 12 weight, right? So you can cut it back until you hit this perfect window. Then you'd finish the line. But I'm gonna finish it because I have a feeling that we're gonna want 600 grains on some of these two-handers, and I would just rather know and be able to cast it on all of them and have a finished product that I can actually fish with. And then I can fix it from there and redo a tip if I need to. So let me show you how to do a kind of a loop in this, right? Because we took like 3 or 4 tag and we just cut it off so that we can actually make our loop-to-loop connection to our leader. Let's do that. So let's put that sinking line on here. So now I'm gonna take this tag end and we're gonna make our loop first. So you gotta come in with, what's it called? A 20 gauge splicing loop needle. This thing's pretty slick.
So it's just a splicing needle like all these are, but it's got a loop in one end. Now this needle's a lot smaller, so it'll just poke right out of this 50 pound. So go slow. I know it fell out, don't worry. Just threading that through, threading that through, threading that through. We'll get our tag in there, we'll pull it down. Now then I can poke this out after we've gone through enough inches, and I can suck that tag end all the way down and through. And now I have made a nice fixed loop, super smooth, where it's going back into itself, and I can pull the crap out of that. And this is 50 pound mono, right? So this is what you're gonna loop to your leader. Now I'm gonna thread my fly line on to about here, push it all the way up here, and do that same splicing gig. About a foot. Get our needle started, come on. Haha. Inchworm that all the way up to where that loop joint comes back down. So I've shoved literally all of it on here. And then that's where my CA glue kicked. So we'll punch the needle out there. And then that's all just gonna go flying down that full sink. Get that right in there and then apply it. So it wasn't my intention, but we lost like 6 inches, like 5 inches. So it's not a 600 grain line anymore. It's 595 grains. Whatever. Now we're gonna make sure this is tight as all get out and do that exact same splice job that we just did. That's good and tight. Now we're just gonna rock overhands. Now, just to do this again, come up, wind it down, say 5 wraps. Then you take this loop and you wrap it over nice and tight. 2, 3, 4, 5. That way, goes right through the guides. Make that thing tight as all get out, dude. So that is your loop to loop. This is where your leader attaches. We have a uniform seamless transition from fly line, there's still fly line inside of this, to a doubled over 50 pound. That way the whole thing is nice, smooth, clean. Let's put a leader on it and then we'll go cast this in the grass. So again, 20 gauge splicing loop needle. That's how you make the doubled over loop. We're running 50 pound Cortland waxed braided mono for both our loop and also basically our shooting line or running line. The full sink is In Touch T20, 20 grains per foot at 10 inch per sec sink rate, 30 feet long. So 20 by 30, 600 grain line. You're not supposed to use it at 30 feet. You're supposed to cut it and make like 10-foot sink tips for Skagit fishing, but whatever. We do what we want. And then we used a 200 pound 14 gauge splicing needle to fit that thick and heavy of a fly line. And then I have smaller needles, 180 and 130 for other fly line sizes, but whatever. That's all the stuff. And then the CA Plus will plastic weld that knot so that it never comes open. Now you'll hear that go through the guides. The muskie might hear it too. We'll find out if that's a bad idea or not. But my water is so dirty that I don't know when to go into the 8 until I hear something hit my guide and I feel it. Because you can't see the fly, you can't see the fish. Like we're talking like a foot of visibility at best. And so having something that's smooth that'll go in, but I'll hear and feel, that's kind of ideal. And then obviously having smooth connections that rip right through the guides, super ideal. All right, sit right here. I gotta go get the fly rod, okay? 600 grainer. So there's the white, is our transition. That's the head. Now we got 100 foot of line plus a 30 footer, so 130 feet, which I don't really want to send into the tree. What? That was sick, Mel. Did you see that? 50-pound wax is thick enough you could probably strip into a fish with it. Mel, it's a cannon. It's a cannon. Wow. That's sick. So, I mean, you can do it. It's a lot of strain to single hand 600 grains with 12 weight. That's sick, Mel. You like that? That's, I mean, so let's just measure for the sake of curiosity. That's how much? So that's 10 feet. So that's a 120 foot cast, right? Because we got 130 total. That's 120 feet just lob. 600 grains, 10 foot, 12 weight, Chippewa River stick. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah. Can I go get the camera? You can touch the grass. You touch it. Touch the grass. I just didn't think you'd want to sit on it. I'll get the camera and then we'll take the dogs for a walk.